Hi, a very good Friday evening to one and all. Welcome to Apolitically Incorrect Guyana. We're two of the executive members of a new United Guyana, and we're filling in for your normal host, Mr. Kian Jabour, who is away on holidays. I would just like to say season greetings on behalf of Union United Guyana to everyone out there. We know that these are the festive times and persons are celebrating with families, be it near or far. Today, I would just like to make special mention to two individuals. First, I would like to say a very, very special happy birthday to the one and only Guyanese critic, Mr. Michael Rodriguez. You guys can probably see him there on the screen. This was a photo sometime back in 2020 when Critic did some work for Anug. He was part of our campaign team in terms of management of our social media and other accounts. But more so, the Guyanese critic has done something that is unique in a way, in that he has offered his platform to a new United Guyana, to Mr. Kian Jabour, but also to members of most, if not all, of the political parties that are out there. We've seen Critic having guests on his various shows here, persons from the government, persons from the major opposition, persons from the smaller parties, persons from civil society, and all other groupings. We've all seen them here. Now, this is something for me that resonates quite well. And Jonathan, yes. I know you're going to come in here, but we know that this is a private individual who is doing his little bit in helping to ensure that information from all sides are filtered out to the general public. But we also have Guyanese owned and Guyanese paid for agencies, media agencies out there. We have the Guyana Chronicle, which is paid for by taxpayers' monies, or paid by taxpayers' monies. We have the National Communications Network, or whatever name they normally have. They change that ever so often. We also have the DPI. These three agencies that are supposed to give information that is relevant to the Guyanese people of what is happening in Guyana. But what we have seen, and this is something that transcends both terms of the two major groupings.
One second, not only relevant, but unbiased.
Yes, so
and unbiased.
Unbiased. So when we made a call a couple of weeks ago at our press conference, we asked certain things from the media, more so state media, because this is the one that is paid for with Guyanese money, taxpayers' monies. But we have seen that we've hardly had coverage for the opposition, and I'm talking about the general opposition here, both major and the smaller parties. We've hardly seen opposition media, the media covering opposition news, and when they do, sometimes it's just a little tidbits. So this is something that when I reflect on what Critic is doing, what some of the other private news agencies or media agencies out there are doing, we must give them their props. And for this, I want to say a very special happy birthday to Mr. Michael Rodriguez, and thank you very much for the platform, not only for the Apolitically Incorrect Guyana show, but for all of the shows that you have here. Okay, and we know that Freddie will probably be on later with this show. So I know you would like to add a little bit here with regard to this topic, so you can go ahead.
Yes, once again, good evening, folks out there. Again, many happy returns of the day. So somebody called you critics, and they said that sounds very ghetto. So I'll go back to say Mr. Critic himself, not critics. So again, many happy returns of the day. And this a politically correct show is being presented today by ANOG's chair, Dr. France, and General Secretary, myself, Jonathan Subrian, in the absence of Mr. Kian Jabour. And for continuity's sake, we are here, managing the program and the content of the program. So this allows the ANOG to have a platform to conduct ANOG's business. And we both will be speaking in the capacity of ANOG's representatives because we feel continuity is very important. And we are humbled, truly humbled by this invitation and the timeliness of the invitation. And before I continue further, I do hope, the Christmas and the Boxing Day, everybody they partook into it in the festivities, and they leave the festivities unscathed, either by accident or otherwise, that are all in good health. And that's always a mantra and a prayer for all of us. No matter how the festivities go, the best part of the festivities is ensuring that there's nothing negative that happened or ensued thereafter. Dr. Marc France, he's in the studio. And most of the things we'll be talking about today in the call-in program will be ANOG related, but we will answer as many questions as long as we possibly can if we have answers for them. If we don't have the answers for them, we at least will be able to tell you that we're not able to answer those questions. So over again to Dr. France to continue the program. And thanks and welcome.
Thank you, Jonathan. And I'm very sure that we're more than capable of answering any questions that come out there. So the first topic that I'm speaking about here, it has to do with the media agencies that are paid for by taxpayers' dollars. And how can we fix this? Because we know that ANOG is not a party that complains and cries about every little thing. We must have a solution. We must put forward something different. And that is what we want our party to be about. So we have options that are out there. For example, one of the first option is for us to privatize the media, the public media. Only then will we be able to have an agency that is actually working, that is not getting subventions, that is not using taxpayers' dollars, and they have to stand their own footing. But we have also seen, Jonathan, that in third world countries and countries such as us that are resource strapped in some ways, it may not be always possible to privatize all of the media. And we know that media is very important in what happens out there. So in the event that we are unable to privatize, there are some simple measures that we can do to improve coverage for the entire country. For example, we do believe that state media, and we're looking at the three that are there, DPI, Guyana Chronicle, NCN. We believe that there should be more space and more time on their various programs for the views of the opposition. The Chronicle, which is the newspaper, our national newspaper, I may call it, they should have some space, some column lengths or columns for the various political parties who have earned the right to be there. So I'm not saying that you have to do it for everyone, but the major opposition, so that their views can be seen, if not at least on a daily basis, probably once a week or so. Third parties.
So let me interject for 1 second on that there. The state media, I'm talking about the Chronicle specifically, it seems to be an organ for any prevailing government.
It has been that way.
Yes, that's what I noticed, that when the prior government was there, the Chronicle was there or the personal organ, so to speak. So this shouldn't be a question of a tit for tat. It shouldn't be where every time an administration goes in, they will use that apparatus that you and I pay for, and the taxpaying public pays for that apparatus solely to project or to push their the good things or the propagandizing of what they're doing. So the thing is, I know it's really looking for this middle ground where everybody can have equity basically for the state run properties. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, it is our monies that are paying. So we need it. And this is where our well-known and the formula that we have for fixing lots of these agencies, our famous 2+2+1 system comes in. We believe that once you have representatives of all of the political parties that have earned the right to be there, 2 from the government, 2 from the major opposition, 1 from the third parties, then any decision made at the board level will reflect the will of the Guyanese people. In the event that anyone tries to make a decision to cut a program, to don't give airtime, to don't give column space to any one of the organizations that deserve to be there, then somebody will squeal. Somebody will let the cat out of the bag. Somebody will say, oh, this is how they voted and why they voted. And you have more transparency. You have better accountability. And that is what ANOG is all about. So our phone line is going to be open in a few, but this is one of the topics that we quickly going to touch on. And we would like to hear your views. We want to hear, how is it that you believe that state media can better acclimatize itself to the Guyanese population and to reflect the views of each and every Guyanese through their leaders and the persons who they've chosen to represent them? Call in, give us your questions, and let us hear how what is it that you think about our suggestions? And if you have a suggestion of your own, what is it that you put forward? Because as our symbol is the phone, and our slogan is listening to the Guyanese people, we want to hear from you. And that is why we said listening to the Guyanese people using telephone. Some may say the mango pelter. When you see it at elections in 25, you're going to know it for sure. But yeah, we want you to be a part of this conversation. Going on to something else. Today is also an auspicious moment for one of the better known media personalities, and I'm saying in media here, all of Guyana, especially those who live on the coastline, and more especially so in and around the Georgetown area, would know one Mr. Gordon Mosley. Now, Mr. Mosley was famously barred for some time from attending some press conferences at one of our past presidents. And it's laughable now, but that is something serious. When you have the press, which is supposed to be the fourth arm that is responsible, have many responsibilities, but more so responsible to getting information out there, unbiased information out there to the public. You want to have your best that is there. And Mr. Gordon Mosley is one of the best in our country. I have to give him his kudos.
He's a QC boy, you know, man.
He's a QC boy?
He's a QC boy.
You sure?
Yes.
I think Gordon from Lincoln,
Yes.
I didn't know he's a QC boy. But I would just like to say, on behalf of ANUG, thank you to Mr. Gordon Mosley for the standard service that he has given through the HJ 94.1 program that he's done for the last 11, almost 12 years. It's the most followed morning program. It's there from 6 to 9 every morning, and it has everything that you can think about. You want music, there is music. You want the latest news, there's latest news. You want the views of persons who are of importance, there are the views. You want to hear the views of the man on the street, you're going to hear those also. I hope that whatever is his next venture, it is something that can help the Guyanese people, something that can get their issues addressed, because Gordon has a very important role to play going forward. I can tell you, Jonathan, today when I saw this little information that was out there on Facebook, within a matter of a couple of hours, there was over 3,000 likes for his post saying thank you. There was over 200 shares of that post. So clearly you can see this is someone who has a huge following and someone that Guyana listens to.
So Doc, let me stick a pin in that part of the conversation again. Now, Gordon Mosley is transitioning from 94.1 radio, from that he had a slot from 6 o'clock in the morning to 9 o'clock, and it's a highly saturated slot with lots of views, etc., etc. For me, the bigger picture is I hope his replacement is more than adequate to fill that slot. And as much as Mr. Mosley may move on to other things, and God bless him, I'm hoping and praying that 94.1 FM, whoever's filling that slot, has enough big boy pants on to fill that spot more so than Mr. Mosley. Thank you.
Wonderful. Yeah. One of the other things that we'll be looking at here, and we'll be asking persons when you do call in to give us your views, it's the famous cash grant that's currently being shared out. We know we've had our views in terms of cash grant. Let's just make this clear for each and every one out there. And United Guyana fully supports this initiative of the government. We do believe that currently we're in a position financially, economically, whereby each and every citizen can benefit somewhat from our newfound blessings. The $100,000 that is being given out to all Guyanese individuals 18 years and over, it's a start, and it is something that we welcome. It is one of the cash grants that was announced with pomp, as we all know. A grant that probably was not best thought out, and we're still seeing the issues that are faced with its implementation. So I saw on Newsroom, which is one of the media houses that is always at the VP's press conference, saying today that almost 100,000 Guyanese got their monies already, which is quite a large sum. And we know it was focused on regions 1, regions 9, region, I think it was 7. I just want to be sure.
7.
1, 9, 7, and 4, parts of 4. Now, we saw the huge lines. Well, let's backtrack a little bit. We saw a huge announcement whereby our president, His Excellency Dr. Irfan Ali, announced that each family will be getting 200,000.
There was a tune of $80 billion or something like that?
60 billion.
60 billion, okay.
That's the projections. A couple of days after, and them doing what ANUC does best, listening to the Guyanese people, because that's what our slogan says, would have backtracked and changed it that, okay, because of what the persons would have said, oh, some families may not benefit the same way, it may cause some strife between family members. They decided that each and every Guyanese 18 years and above will get 100,000. That clearly shows you something. That shows you that from the inception, this was something that, although well-intentioned, it was not well thought out. Okay? In its implementation, we later learned that, oh, there's going to be a famous app whereby information is collected and solicited. And then we had the issues where you have to be registered, you have to be in the country to get registered if you're 18 years in Guyanese and qualified to be registered. And then we saw that the immediate handing out of the cash grant, as was announced, is not actually immediate. So then we saw the VP making pronouncement that it may take about 5 months for some persons to get theirs, and there's going to be a second and third tranche maybe, whereby you look at persons who were missed. And so currently we focus on these regions. Now, this is something momentous. This is something that you're dealing with lots and lots of Guyanese taxpayers' dollars. $60 billion is what they think the monies that will be spent. So, $60 billion is a lot of money.
That's
Jonathan.
A lot of money.
It's a lot of money. Okay. Recently, it was announced that public servants, pensioners, and public servants will be getting a 10% increase on their salaries. Thank you very much. I'm a public servant. The discipline services will be getting their bonus, their 1 month bonus, and pensioners will be getting some increases. All of these.
Let me ask you a question, Doc. That 10% that the public servants are receiving, how much it actually would drain the treasury for the 10%? Why couldn't it not be bumped up to like 25%?
Well, you see that's where I'm coming, because in the media, and this is both state and private media, it was announced that all of these interventions would have cost the treasury $19.8 billion.
20 billion.
20 billion.
That's all.
You can round it off to 20 billion.
Yeah.
Now, we've had a $1.146 trillion budget
2024
that was
budget.
announced in 2024.
Yes.
We've had supplemental budgets afterwards being announced. And we're probably going to have...
one more before you.
Well, it's already year-end, so maybe not. But we've had, I think it was about $40 billion, and then there was some more monies. So you're almost at 1.2 trillion Guyana dollars. Now, 20 billion of that
That's a drop
in the bucket. Clearly, if we focus on what is important, our people, improving the lives of the most vulnerable, the needy. So you're looking at your public servants, you're looking at your pensioners, you're looking at your persons with disabilities,
the housewives,
you're looking at your single parents, moms especially. We can surely do better than this. And that is why when ANUG listened to this proclamation and we sent out our press release, we congratulated the government because it is a step in the right direction. More so why we congratulated them in that it was something that was discussed with the union that represents the majority of those public servants, well, the public servant, the GPSU. And an agreement was made there for 10% this year, 8% next year. But we do believe that more could and should have been given. ANUG, in its calculations based on what was done there, believes that at least 25%, and I'm thinking maybe 15 this year and 10 next year. My hope is that the government will listen to ANUG, they will listen to the Guyanese people because cost of living is still affecting many and we're feeling the crunch, and hopefully that 8% next year may actually be more, given the fact that we have more monies. So clearly you can see that 20 billion, the amount of monies that we're spending on infrastructure, a sector of the budget that has reached its limit in terms of what we're able to do as a country. So we're spending huge sums of infrastructure, but we have lots of those projects running behind delays.
Yes.
Deadlines rather.
Yes.
So they're delayed.
Yes.
And I know you probably want to add something here.
But before I add my part to that, there's two questions I'd like to ask you also, and also for clarity for our listening audience. Do you think that $100,000 will be the genesis for a welfare state in Guyana?
Most certainly not. We do believe that people need those sums of monies right now, but it's not something that's going to be causing you to be dependent on it. $100,000 can only last so long. And I know a lot of persons who were against cash grants and more so generalized cash grants would say that, oh, you're going to go and drink it out, you're going to go and spend it out, you won't save. We saw the president at one of his speeches saying that, oh, this is an investment for the future and you can make a whole lot of things with 100,000. Sad to say, but the truth is you can't do much with 100,000.
I went to a store.
So it won't make us a welfare state.
Here we are now. 2 weeks ago, I went to this Chinese supermarket where I live at, and I bought a nutriment. I wrote it down for $3.50. I went 2 days ago, and they wanted $700. I have the receipt. $700 for one chocolate nutriment drink. 2 weeks ago was $350, and I do have that receipt. And now they want $700 in a matter of 5 days. $7 for one chocolate nutriment. That's why I'm asking you, this $100,000, what is it actually doing? Are the grocers and the stores see, an infusion of cash and they sort of jack the prices up to offset the cash that people are having? Or that's what I'm asking. I'm a little confused over that part of it. How is the price being regulated? That being said, and if you said that $100,000 is not going to create or is not the genesis of creating a welfare state because people need it, I agree with you 100% on that. I personally feel that if we could have done more on an individual level, then we certainly should do that for the people of this country. Percentage of the oil proceeds should really be given to the population at any given time to increase the flow of money and maybe stabilize prices. That's one of the things. Now, you spoke just now about the projects being overrun.
Behind schedule. And that is why I do believe that if we continue to pump huge sums of our budget into these projects, for example, we're building 6 new hospitals. We're rebuilding 6 others, and then they've recently announced 3 more in the interior. Now, we're not getting anywhere with these hospitals. The 6 that are building, they're currently way behind schedule. So those that were supposed to be finished this year, and for example, the maternity hospital, we've seen the dates pushed back to mid of next year, June of next year. And that is just looking at something in health. But we know that many of the other projects, the roads that you see out there, they're way behind schedules. Up to today, if you would have paid attention to, and I love to read my news in the morning, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock when I wake up, I go and I read. We would have seen a school, the Christchurch School, that is currently being built. It's 10 months delay.
So one of the things about, let me talk to Christchurch and I'll go to the other things. My understanding is that the Ministry of Education at that time, they decided not to give the contract itself to one contractor to do soup, nuts, and bolts, but to send it to almost 7 different people, and with the anticipation that within 7 months, them work in concert with each other, the school will be done in 7 months, and the people that give it, I think I wrote some of the names of the contractors. They give it to me. Yes.
These are the famous lots.
The lots, right? BM Property Investment, $303 million. Zico Corp, $295 million. Balgamin and Sons, $41 million. Property Investment, another $17 million. Ogresen 1 and Ogresen 2 comes up to like $15 million. Pantheon, $12 million change, etc., etc. The understanding or the hope was, well, I wouldn't say hope, because let me tell you something. If you have these consultants that are being paid by the ministry top dollars, Guyanese taxpayers' dollars, to have a projection, and a projection that's on time and par, give or take a week or 2, I can understand, even a month, then they're being paid top dollars to project these kind of things. I cannot understand that how 7 months will translate to a year, and then 10 months later the project is not over, is not complete as yet. Now, look at what it does to the people. You move the kids from where the fire was, and these kids are now housed, I think, at the Sir Potter by Turkine, someplace around there. What about the transportation cost that the parents will have to bear for each child to move from the city? What happens if a child that lives in Wales or Perica or the West Bank that went to Christchurch now has to go all the way down to UG? What about the cost and the time associated? Two things. So you're placing an undue burden on the family member, the family structure to get some more cash from someplace to pay for the kids to go back and forth. That's the first thing. How about when the kids are stuck at Rupert Craig's Highway and UG Road there, intermittently in the afternoon waiting for transportation to get where they are going? Don't you think the ministry should have had some sort of whip or be on these people to get this project done? But lo and behold, this project is 10 months overdue. 10 months overdue. You got what, 500 kids going to that school are now unnecessarily delayed 10 months later. That's totally unacceptable and totally unfair, Doc.
Us Guyanese, I think we are too forgiving as a people. This is not the first school that is delayed. We saw the St. Rose's High School that was built being delayed.
Yep.
We saw the famous Bamia School in Region 10 being delayed months, even years.
And then we have the CGI airport.
Well, that's something. The less said, probably the better.
Well, no, let's
because we've seen under both governments work being done on the Cheddi-Jagan International Airport, but not that. I had the privilege of having family who would have worked overseas. One of them was intricately involved in building the St. Martin Airport, a small island nation there that doesn't have as much resources as Guyana. And the work that they got for the sums that were spent is top class compared to what we got for the initial works that were done for this Cheddi-Jagan International Airport. And now we see one of the companies, the Trinidadian company that was to build the admin block, they had to get that contract taken away. This is the same company, by the way, that was building the Conversation Tree Road that couldn't finish there. And now we've seen it's being retendered with some added specifications and more monies there. Who holds these contractors responsible? Who follows through? And that is where us as Guyanese, we don't have to always complain, but we have to do our little bit of research. We have to call on the government. We have to call on our representatives in Parliament to ensure that transparency and accountability for each and every cent that is being spent from our treasury is done. Because that is the only way we can ensure that we're getting value for our monies. Because when you read off the sums there for this Christchurch school, those are huge sums. The time when a school would have cost $300-400 million is gone now. My hope is that these schools that are being built, especially these schools that are being built post all the fires and stuff, that they're first world, that they have the right mechanism in place to deal with things such as fires and other emergencies. Because it would make no sense that you're spending such huge sums
in this
for the same to happen.
And this Christchurch is about $700 million. That's about almost $750 million for a Christchurch school, right? And then the other day, the vice president of GPL fiasco, he spoke that GPL got to become shipshape or heads would roll. Now, hear me out. Then you have the president went on and spoke about Read the Right Act on Guy Suko, that heads going to roll by the first quarter of next year.
And all of this is after the famous 5:30 meeting.
I'm going to talk about 5:30. You jump in the gun with me there, Doc. Hold on a second. This is now a new phenomenon that happened after the 5:30 Right Act was read by the president a couple of weeks ago. Now, I applauded the president for doing what he's doing there, like this, the no-nonsense approach and having a chutzpah. But where is the feedback mechanism? Where's the feedback that John Q. Public is looking either to praise the government or not praise the government for the president's 5:30 meeting? Was it a dog and pony show? Was it more fluff than substance? And if there's more substance than fluff, where is the feedback mechanism that the taxpayer, you, me, and all the taxpaying public looking for? When the president was there and he said there were people at the door that was locked out of the gate at 5:30 in the morning, they were locked out there. What happened to those people? Some of them were permanent secretaries, some of them were probably consultants, engineers, etc., etc. Some of them were also the contractors. Did anything ever come out of that? Now, There's something called, I spoke of it once before, something called reason, and there's also something called emotions. I would want to believe, I'm going on a limb, that the president went out because he had compelling reasons to do that, and emotions was in the background. But unless we get some feedback that something was done positively to enhance the lives of the Guyanese and account for the taxpayers' dollars going forward for all these recalcitrant people that were there and entities that were there, then it would just have to be a wishy-washy papi show. Ditto for the vice president reading the right act about the Arby Barker Road and what went on there. Did he talk just for the sake of talking, or is there going to be something coming out of that? Ditto also for the GPL, the president speaking about the GPL folks that if you don't ship within the next couple of weeks, couple of months, March, April of 2025, that heads are going to roll. I know it's coming up with great lines coming up for election time. So not sure if these are things that the government's going to actually deliver. Because there are also two things, one called overpromise and underdeliver. You cannot want to overpromise and let everybody feel good and goody two shoes and soft, and then all of a sudden you don't deliver. Then what happens then? It makes you, if you are the government, it makes you look bad in the eyes of the people. And understand 2025 is the voting year. Go ahead.
So, it's all about fixing systems, and ANUG has always been about fixing systems. If we don't have systems in place, if we don't have SOPs, and this is not the famous PNC SOP that I cannot find now, standard operating protocols.
That's right.
If we don't have those in place, then we'll never improve as a nation. And when you go to a foreign country, we abide by the laws. We follow the order that is there.
Yep. Yes,
and
we do.
It's the same Guyanese that are living here doing that overseas. Yet here we want to bore, or as we say, poke the lines. Here we want to call somebody if we stop by the police officers on the road. Here we want to cut some underhand deal so that we can get a house lot, or we can get a contract that is being shared out. I don't know why the sickness is in the Guyanese people, and until we can right ourselves, we will not fix it. And we need to fix the system. We need to ensure that if a contract has been given out, the persons who are overseeing the contract on behalf of the government, that they ensure that the work that is being done up to the standard that is expected for such, because it is taxpayers' dollars that is being spent. So, Jonathan, it's 7:04. We've been speaking for half an hour. I'd like to welcome your calls. You've heard some of the things that we've spoken about. There are many more topics that we have here to discuss, but we would like to hear your views. Our numbers are there on screen, 231-2982. It's the number here of the studio. You can get on, and also the two cellular phone numbers, 676-5400 and 695-2432. Kindly call in. We would like to hear what is it that you have to say. We'd like to hear what is it that you expect from us, ANUG, as a political party heading into 2025. And we can share some of the information that we know you are expecting to hear from us going forward. Okay, we all know, as you did mention, that 2025 is an election year. 2025 is a year of lots of promises, some that may not be delivered. For example, we see the Right Act being read out to these corporations 4 years after they would have been given the chance to fix themselves. Yeah. Well, if you can't fix it in 4 years, are you expecting to fix it in 9-10 months?
The jury's out on that.
I think so. But we've given Jack his jacket, and so, okay, let's look at GPL, for example. The current government, their answer to everything is that, we're now fixing the issues that the APNU AFC
4 years still after the fact
left us in the past. But not only that, they've spent huge sums of monies. So, for example, we have 2 power ships now that has augmented the capacity, the generational capacity of our power and light system here that we have. So now you have no other excuses, because if you have generation capacity, you must ensure that your transmission lines and your other operational costs and admin issues are all sorted out. So you have no excuses currently. And we have been people here in Guyana who we've listened and we've given you leash. But there comes a time when you must be held responsible for that which you were elected to do. And so going forward in 2025, blackouts should be something of the past. I have lived in Guyana since I came back from studies in 2013, and I can tell you, under the APNU AFC in 2015 to 2018-19, we had less blackouts than we've had over the last 2 years.
And that's statistically proven?
That is statistically proven.
Okay.
And so when they come after Mr. Patterson and say that he didn't do anything and they didn't invest in stuff, whatever they had, they provided a more reliable source of electricity. Yes, the government is going to come and say, oh, but because consumption has risen, because we have new infrastructure going up, we have new businesses that are here, we have a demand increase. Yes, but you've had 4 years to fix that issue. And if your solution is renting ships, paying for your gas, and paying an exorbitant cost per kilowatt hour, something must be clearly wrong. Because those same sums that you're paying, you could have probably sourced your own systems. But we know that sometimes the way things are done is so that somebody can get a cut.
I was just going to say that. Maybe there's a middleman there, an invisible middleman who gets a huge cut out of the whole thing. And one other thing, Doc, there's a lamentation always that the other government before us did this and did that. But be reminded, we voted for this government.
That's why you're there. That's why they're not there.
Right.
We voted them out.
This government. So you cannot lament because of the character flaw, a governmental character flaw, if you're going to lament on everything that the predecessor did and you're trying to fix. If you can't fix it in 4 years, you should not be in government. Let's give somebody else an opportunity to run. And one other thing. The previous government didn't have oil money. So with all the dispensation that's happening, the $1.2 trillion budget that you have and all these glorified projects all over the place, granted, we have a lot of oil money. The previous administration didn't have that kind of money that this government is rolling in. I'm not saying that this government is not doing well with what they're doing, but we all feel that they can do much better and stop pointing fingers at the previous government, what it did, it didn't do. You're voted in to correct the mistakes of the others. It shouldn't take you 4 years and 5 years to do that.
So again, we come back to monies, and in a few weeks, 3 or 4 weeks, we're going to see the reading of the 2025 budget. Now, it's going to be bigger because every budget has been bigger than the previous one. It's going to be bigger than what we had last year, or this year rather. It's going to be bigger than the 2024 budget. My hope, and again, I want to call, because budgets are prepared, the first draft is normally should be finished for June 30th. Yeah. And so they can look over in the various areas. Paper. And so by the time it's presented, it is work that would have been done. And I know it's a lot of work. I was involved in a bit of budget in Ministry of Health for the materials management unit when I was there. It's a lot of work, and we got to give the persons who are doing the work their props. But I do believe, and I've said it before and I'm saying it again, that yes, there is need for infrastructure, but you must pay more attention to your human resources and your people. And my hope is that in the budget that is coming up in 2025, more monies are given to the actual people who need it the most.
So I want to talk a little, Doc. I'm glad you said that about the people. Your people are your greatest asset. And when you speak people, that's a generalization. It's every man, woman, and child. Now, more on a domestic level, the president was around on Christmas Day, I think, around that time, and he went to the Dharamsala. And he pledged $1 million to the Dharamsala. That $1 million, do you think it came out of the president's pocket? Doc, where do you think the $1 million came from?
Let me just take a pen. My hope is that it did.
Me too. Because
we've seen in the media the president's salary come up. The leader of the opposition discussed the president's salary. I think it was 2.9 million a monthly or something.
With a 10% increase, okay.
And we've also seen the shot back from the government side when the VP held his press conference and said that, but the opposition leader is being hypocritical or duplicitous because his salary is $1.8 million. Now, I am thinking that both of these gentlemen could give the Dharamshala $1 million.
I want to believe so because
my hope is that they should.
Yeah, from their own pockets.
From their own pockets, from their salaries.
$100,000, $1 million is just $5,000 US dollars now.
Jonathan, even you may be able to do that.
I can close my eyes and do that. I swear to God, I can close my eyes and do that. One other thing. I did a little bit of digging, and I saw from 2018, this government has been giving a subvention to the Dharamsala of $1 million. And at first I thought it was $1 million a month, man. But when I checked the blasted thing, it's $1 million for the whole year, buddy. It's not $1 million a month to the Dharamsala, but $1 million for the entire year. And that I was shocked to the core. This Dharamsala has been around since what, 100, 105, 106, 1920, I think 1921 has been around. And you know, blessings to the Ramrup, I think it's the Ramrup family, who's actually running this, the family over the generations have been running this from private donations. There's also some subvention from the government. But the Dharamsala is open to every single human being that is in need of that kind of help that the Dharamsala is providing. There are other places. I know we went to one up on the East Coast, and just on their side note, I know provided lunch the Saturday before Christmas for a children's home up on the East Coast of Demerara. There are 34 children there, and 35 children there, ranges from 6 months to 23 years. Not only we provided lunch, but we provided gifts for every single one of them. And it broke our hearts to see how the teamwork is displayed there, where the older ones taking care of the younger ones, where the 3 teenage girls were taking care of the 6-month-old baby that was actually sitting there. Most of us left with tears in our eyes to see how well they performed as a team in a very micro level. And we're thinking, there's no government here to actually look at it, but look at how well these children performed amongst themselves in that micro level. If government agencies or folks can actually go there and learn from these children how to live amongst each other as adults, how to respect and value each other, and how to work as a team to push this country together. We all left. We were very solemn when we left. We were very silent when we left there, thinking that child could be our child at any given time in life. So when you spoke about every man, woman, and child in Guyana, I harkened back to that very little experience I know experienced 2 Saturdays ago. Thank you.
And we've seen, and this is the famous word from the vice president, he's calling all who is probably in his crosshairs duplicitous. We've seen them highlight that, you know what? When the last government entered, when the APNO FC entered, they raised their salaries, ministers and members of parliament, by 50%. But guess what we didn't see? We didn't see the PPPC's MPs refuse that increase,
or put it in a let's say, did they actually put it in, let's say, a slush fund to hold on to do anything else, or give away to the Dharamsala or something?
That's what I'm saying. We didn't see them give it to those who need it more.
So you see, they enjoy the largest too.
They've accepted and blessed. And they've accepted all of the increases that they've been entitled to since. So now when they complain that, oh, you know what, the APNO FC raised their salaries by 50%, but your salary was raised also, and you didn't say, no, I don't want it. Similarly, when I see persons criticizing the current cash grant, and they say, okay, maybe everyone should not have gotten it and only those who need it. You don't have to take it. You can take it and you can give it to those who are in need.
Yep.
I, for example, I know I needed mine, or I need mine because I haven't been paid mine as yet.
I don't need mine, Doc. I'm going to donate mine, but I'm not going to donate to you. But I will donate.
What I'm saying is that what I do with it in terms of if I choose to help someone, if I choose to feed someone, that is my right. And so for those persons who may think that it's not necessary, you can do good with yours. And there are many persons who need same. Now, I've been looking at some of the comments here, and I don't know if it's Kian's show or it's just because when you say things about the government and the opposition, they tend to come after you. And there's the same set of names they've been commenting all the time. The mere fact that you're here listening, paying attention, that is enough for us. Because I am very sure that in your own little moment, you will say, guess what? These two guys really mean good for Guyana. This party and United Guyana really means well for Guyana. Because we're not here to bad talk the government.
Not at all.
We're not here to bad talk, and this is in Guyanese parlance, the major opposition. We actually want you to do good. We want you to do what is best for the people you represent. And when I say we don't want to bad talk you, it is because one of our founding principles is for there to be inclusive governance. We want the two major sides working together for the betterment of the Guyanese people. And that is why when we see everything being compared, oh, you did this and so I'm doing this better than you. No, we want you to put your heads together and come up with a plan that is best for Guyanese, that will serve us way into the future. We don't want, oh, because we started the LCDS and then you started something else, when we come back, we change that altogether. Guyana will never go anywhere with such a system. We need all sides working together. And the only way it can happen, and we see it being possible, is if we have a minority government. And so coming up to 2025, it is important for all to get involved, for all to try to work together in the best interest of the Guyanese people, and not just criticize for criticism's sake or oppose for opposing sake. Okay? We want whatever developmental plans to come from both sides, for it to be agreed upon by both sides. And we've seen that for some reason, there seems to be an unwillingness to work together. And we can come to the famous the Chancellor and the Judiciary, the Chancellor of the Judiciary and the Chief Justice, and why they're not there yet. Because these two people haven't come together.
And the other point, Doc, is this current government, they actually won the 2020 election by one seat, and one seat translates to what? 5,500 votes, right? Mm-hmm. Which means that they're about what? Just 50.5% of the population technically voted for the government, and the 49.5% are not. Yet the 50.5%, the government is making, the 50.5% are making all the policies for the 49.5%. And if there's something to be passed in Parliament, because they have a one-seat majority, you can try filibuster. You can talk from now, Doc, till next 2 years from now.
And the 33 seats always.
And the 33, stick your hand up, the 33 seats still win. So what's the point of even having a debate? The debate is probably echoed for the John Q public to just listen and maybe sympathize or empathize with whatever the stronger opposition members have to say. But at the end of the day, when the hands are stuck in the air, 33 hands stuck in the air, it is going to pass. And that's what Anu is trying to change. That for 50 odd years, the two major parties have been at each other's throat. You know, if you work on an eye for an eye, everybody gonna end up with one eye. So I know he's trying to be that little fulcrum, and I use the word fulcrum to do a little balance. You know, a couple of seats here, and we want to ensure and assure the public that we are working in the best interest for the majority. We are into nation building. We don't care what race you are. We don't care what nationality you are. We don't care if you're rich or you're poor or in between. We want that what is good for all Guyanese should be good for all Guyanese, period.
So the sad thing about this is that we had the chance. The AFC had the chance, 2006, 2011, to change the system. 2015, they decided to call. Well, from 2011, they mostly oppose, or almost, they oppose almost everything. And didn't, in 2015, maintain their independence. If they had, and they had given Jack his jacket for the good work that was being done, and criticized and put forward solutions when things were not being done in the way they should have, the AFC could have been that third party, and guess what? Anu would not have been here. And that is one of the major reasons why we as a political party refuse to ever coalesce with the APNU, AFC, or the PPP, because all three of those parties owe it to Guyana and Guyanese to fix the system, and they've had the chance to fix the system. They've had the chance to enact laws. They've had the chance to make changes or little provisions there that can better govern the system, and they have not. Well, so I see some comments here that, oh, it was APNU, it was a minority government that caused us to get blackout. Blackout is something that has been with us since the 80s.
I'm glad you said that. When I was a youngster going to Queen's College, There are three things we always remember in the morning. Then we have blackout, black market, and Blackmore. Blackmore was a heavyweight boxer in Guyana.
Lennox.
So we had Lennox, Blackmore. Blackmore, blackout, and black market were the three B's I had in myself as a teenager here.
So
Nothing, at least one didn't change. I think Blackmore lives in Georgia or something. Lennox Blackmore live in Georgia in the United States, I think. Black market, I'm not sure it's still around or it still is there, but certainly blackout is still there from then to now.
So the PNC and the APNO FC, where they belong to, they have something for the Bs.
Right.
Because they had their 5B system in 2015 to 2018.
Yeah. and Doc, let me come to one other thing. The other day, there was a big, which is a good thing. The Exim Bank approved the $526 million gas to energy that's happening at Wales there, right? And I believe the rest of it will be funded by Guyanese taxpayers and our taxpayers' dollars as well as their patrimony. But what I didn't see any place when I looked, and maybe the government is going to do it someplace, is tell us, like, how many years is this loan for? What is the annual percentage of the loan? Because if you're a third world country, the rate of the loan will maybe, I'm just making something, 2 or 3% or so. But if you're developing countries, the rate may jack up to 8 or 9 or 10%. I don't know. So we need to know something like that.
Let me just take a second here. This is where our keywords come in again. Transparency and accountability.
Yeah.
And we have seen government after government, for whatever reason, refuse to educate the people and inform us of the contracts that they're signing, the loans that they're taking, at what percentages. We've seen that, and we got to keep it because there's some clause.
But whose money?
It was our money, so they owe it to us.
There you go. Okay. They don't come up from their pockets,
now,
right?
I see a comment by one Richard Stanislaus. Elections have consequences. You contest election to govern. Are these two suggesting shared governance? Of course, we are suggesting shared governance. This is something that was one of the founding principles of an United Guyana.
Yep.
And people may come and say, okay, so where does this work? Which other country does this work in? You go and do your research. The Swiss model is the typical example of how you can have better governance. And when you talk about Switzerland, you're talking about a top-notch country, a small country, but that has a high standard of living that is rivaled by only few countries. Now, this is a country that the various levels of governance, you have people who answer to their constituents. Here, we have a system that you're supposed to answer to your constituents, but it don't function.
Follow, divide and conquer.
Right. So you get 0.5% that you've won the election by, you control everything. And the systems that you have in place, for example, your local government systems, the RDC, the NDCs, they don't function. Instead, they answer to political hacks and they answer to those who are overlords for them. And they don't adequately represent the people. And this is something that we need to fix and we need to change.
Two things you said that resonated with me before. You spoke about the fourth estate, which is really supposed to be holding everybody's toes to the fire, so to speak, right? But recently I noticed that I haven't seen the president. When was the last time you saw president holding a general press conference, like invited the entire press? Can you remember? Because I read it in some places before, and I've seen it, that he has a hand-picked set of people that he gets and sit down in a gaff session, like in the lawns or where he lives at and stuff like that, and have a dialogue with some reporters, selected reporters. And one or two of them that really amazed me was that the general reporting establishment in Guyana was not invited when they had the police.
The other day, the swearing in of the commissioner of police.
Of the commissioner of police. And the rest of the other five people, the entire press corps was not invited. They were again selected. But then again, to add to that, Mr. Blanham, I think he's a crime chief. He did say that on December 23rd that I wrote 178 illegal guns have been taken off the street. While that may be satisfactory or may appease us, but when you say, Mr. Blanham, 178 illegal guns, what are you comparing that with? Do you have an idea like how much guns are actually illegal in Guyana? Because let's assume that 1,000 guns are illegal in Guyana, and you hauled out 178 of that 1,000. You're talking about 17% of the guns off the street. But what happens is 5,000 guns actually on the streets of Guyana. The 178 will be 4 or 5% of the guns that are out there. So telling us 178 guns are coming out of the street is not any kind of algorithm. It tells us, it's 15% of the projected amount of illegal guns there. Do they know how many? Do they have an anticipation? That's one. The second one is that the chief of a prison says that acts in prison, negative acts in prison. I'll say crimes for that matter. And Doc said to me, "How can you have crimes in prison?" Which is really an oxymoron, because you really shouldn't have crimes in prison. But he said that the prison crime was reduced, and here's the word, significantly. Well, what do you mean by significantly? What are you benchmarking it against? Are you benchmarking 2024 against 2023 or 2022? What are you benchmarking it again, to use the word significantly? And when you see word like significantly, they ain't got no number, no metrics. Significantly is a relative term.
The other one is very soon.
The very soon, and significantly, these are what we call relative terms. Significantly can mean 2, it can mean 10 million. So when you see word like significantly and what's your own, Doc?
They say very soon.
Very soon or shortly.
Very soon or shortly.
Or shortly.
In the near future.
There is no correlation between significantly and something that you would have to have a statistically sound information for public. Go ahead,
you know why they do it and why they say it?
Nah.
It's for the song bite.
The song bite, song goods.
It's a song good. It's for them to. And it's kind of sad for them to inform some of their supporters who may be gullible, because not everyone takes the opportunity to read, to educate themselves, and to learn about what are the other options. And that is why when I see people saying that, shared governance will not work, or for example, you already have systems in place that address shared governance, and that is some amount of shared governance. So you have your commissions that were set up and stuff, but do they function? Right. We spoke to members of the Integrity Commission at the forum there the other day, and they were like, both the Integrity Commission and the PPC, the work that they're able to do, their hands are tied, and they need to be liberated in a way so that they can have more opportunity to see and do more and make decisions.
Yeah.
Okay. And that comes back to us what we're saying. Fix the system. If you don't fix the system, then you cannot adequately address the issues that are there.
Doc and I have been sitting here for like a whole hour, we're talking, and of course there are other things coming in here. And again, our job here, or what we're doing here, is to sensitize the public. We want to educate you in such a way that you ask the hard questions. It's your money. It's your taxpayers' dollars. The oil is your patrimony, your money either way. It's like giving me $1 million closures and say, "By do what you want with it, invest it how you want with it." Or Doc, I take $10 million and give it to Doc and say, "Hey Doc, see what you can do with this, man. Next year I'm gonna ask you back what happened with it and what happened with it." And next year Doc come back and tell me, "Buy me last the entire for $10 million. What am I gonna want to kill Doc?" But it's my fault for not asking Doc 1 month after, "Why you doing the $10 million?" Or half a month, 6 months later, "What the hell you do with my $10 million?" You see, that is what the Guyana people need to ask their representative. It doesn't matter if you're Kuli or Black or Chinese or Douglas or Portuguese. Let
me stick a pin there.
Go ahead.
The term that you just used, I'd like to apologize on behalf of yourself.
I mean that loosely.
We no longer use such, and we say Guyanese
all Guyanese.
Into the center, or whatever it is.
All Guyanese.
Okay.
It's your job to educate yourself and ask the hard questions. You don't have to be fearful of your representative, whether you're PPP or a PNC affiliate or AFC or ANUG or whatever it is. Ask them the hard questions. Ask them what can they do for you? How can they elevate your lives? How they can make you and your family better tomorrow than you are today with the infusion of all this cash and everything else. Go ahead, Doc.
Jonathan, it's 7:29. We've been talking to see an hour past, and we would love to have the interaction, and we know going forward in the future we're going to be on many other shows. We're going to be speaking in the streets with the people. We're going to be listening to you through whatever medium it is, whether it's shows, whether it's rubbing shoulders, whether it's taking your phone calls. We're going to be doing all of that. But our time is up, and the operator just signaled to me that the time is up here. But my call to the Guyanese people, ANUG is here for the long run. Personally, I can tell you I'm in it for the long run. When I entered politics in 2019, I had a 20-year plan. It's year 4 year 5 of that 20-year plan, and I have already seen myself way beyond where I think I should have been now. And maybe it's because of necessity that you see me leading the party currently and probably looking to spearhead our election charge in 2025 in whatever capacity. But I do believe that it is time for not only myself, but all Guyanese, especially the younger population, to get involved. Ask the hard questions. Ask of your leaders why they're doing what they're doing, and if it's the best for Guyana, and if it's in Guyana's best interest. Because I have 2 young kids, and I want that in 10, 15 years, when those kids are ready to go to school and turning adults, I want them to enjoy Guyana, the Guyana that I would have helped build, the Guyana that should be on par with the rest of the first world. And I know that you and your kids and your family and each and every Guyanese, we want that. Let me come back to just something quite quickly. Oil, right? A personal story. I probably would have told you sometime back. When I was 7 or 8, living in the interior, myself and my dad, who was a teacher, we went and we were catching fish at a wharf in the Burris River. He said, son, you know what we could have done if we had 30,000 barrels of oil? Today, we're producing over 600,000 barrels of oil. And in a couple of years, in 2025, 27, around then, 1 million, 1.2 million. Guyana is going to go places. And it is for us as the younger generation and the not so young generation, because I'm heading a little past the youth according to the definition, but it is for us to build this country, to make it what we want it to be. And it starts with us taking the initiative now. It starts with us deciding what is best for us in Guyana in 2025, in an election cycle, and having the best persons govern us. But not only having the best persons govern us, but to ensure that whatever they're doing it in the best interest of the Guyanese population as a whole, and not for your friends, your families, and we know the others. Okay? So that is my call to our Guyanese, and you'll be seeing much more of myself in 2025.
And to all Guyanese here and abroad, this is the last politically correct episode for the year 2024. And we wish everybody a happy new year for 2025. And we implore you, we beg, we beseech, be responsible in your merriment, your gaiety, and whatever activity, social activity that you would be in for the new year. Please be safe, stay safe, you and your family, watch yourself on the roads, etc., etc. 2025 beckons us all, and we would like to level the playing field come 2025. Anything else, Doc?
No, that's it. Thank you once again. And I just want to add one thing. I worked Christmas Day at the hospital. And in the evening, we had lots of persons that came in because of accidents and because of persons who were imbibing, stab wounds and these things. Please, we know that during the year-end celebrations, people imbibe. Don't drink and drive. If you're going to be imbibing, kindly get a designated driver. And for those persons who are a little bit hot-tempered, try to control yourself and don't be involved in any activity that may not warrant you having to go to the hospital, because we don't want to see what we see or normally see during this time of the year. So please be careful, take your time, be safe on the roadways, be safe at home.
In closing, namaste, salam alaikum, and good evening to all.
Thank you. Have a good night.